Hey everybody, Colin from Track Attack here. We're doing another paddock review at the Safe Auto Vault. Today, we're going to be unleashing one of the best American sports cars for the track ever made. So let's review what makes the 1LE so special. Let's start off here in the front because there's a lot happening here. First off, we have all this added extra aerodynamics. So you can see right here, we have a giant front splitter. Goes off to the sides here with a little bit of extra aero added on the sides. And of course, then you can see just above that, we have two very large dive planes added to the front of the car. So that's going to increase the front bite, front stability at high speeds dramatically. The other thing worth noting is the extra airflow. On the ZL1 1LE, it has a different front end than the other standard Camaros because they wanted it to breathe a lot better. So as you can see, almost the entire front of this car is open for airspace. In fact, Chevy took the breathing element to the point where it was extreme. If you actually look at the Chevy bow tie on the front, they actually call it the flow tie because it is hollow. They wanted that much extra airflow for this engine because they knew the users would be taking this on track and pushing it to the limit. Now, the other elements which make it visually distinguishable from the normal car is the satin wrapped hood. All the 1LE packages on the different trims, the ZL1, SS, and other ones as well, come with this on the hood. No performance gain, of course, just meant to signify that this is a performance machine made to go to the track and set down lap times. Other thing worth noting, of course, is the wheels. Oddly enough, the normal ZL1 comes equipped with 20-inch wheels. This car is equipped with 19-inch wheels, but yet they're wider than the normal ZL1. Chevy went with that option because they wanted to make it lightweight, obviously better for performance and lap times. Inside the wheels, of course, we have a set of Brembo high-performance brakes. And again, Chevy went with what works. They went with a solid rotor, no fancy cross-drilling, no slots, because they found in their testing that this did the job under numerous attempts at heavy braking. Braking system did not overheat. Now, of course, we're going to keep talking about airflow and aerodynamics. You can see down here there's a side skirt which adds functional aero to the car, helps speed the air through, and gets the car to cut through the air a little better. And then, of course, the rear has lightweight wheels as well. And, of course, the really interesting thing is the tire size on this car. The rear tires here are a 325. That is a lot of rubber on the road. And now the most important thing about the downforce is the massive rear carbon fiber wing. This thing produces a ton of downforce at the rear of the car. Obviously adds a lot more cornering grip, especially at the high-speed corners. So combined with giant sticky tires and lots of aero, this car was made to go around corners, and it'll do it with the best of them. So now let's check out the inside of this street legal race car. Now this car kind of sits at a really interesting point in the marketplace. At the end of the day, it's a GM product, it's a Chevy, it's a Camaro. Not exactly the most expensive high-class car out there. Yet in terms of performance, this thing will compete with the big boys. This thing is a GT3 type car for the track. The performance numbers show it. Now, of course, this thing does compete in terms of lap times with the GT3, but how does it compete in terms of everything else? Well, let's look at the interior first of all. I think that says a lot. This actually is a very nice interior. It certainly doesn't seem cheap, but at the same token, I wouldn't say it's exactly on par with some of the high-end luxury cars. But again, it is very nice. So if you look at it, obviously, in terms of it being a track car, it comes with all the Alcantara everywhere. It has this nice on the dash. It's got the red stitching to kind of go with it, tying the red elements everywhere. Alcantara on the shifter. It's on the wheel. It's even on the doors. The seats are nicely padded here. So again, it does have that very kind of race car, higher class feel. The Camaro has definitely stepped up their interiors over the years. It does look a lot classier. The dash is starting to look a little better. It still has that kind of retro look to the way the gauge cluster is set up to kind of, you know, hark back to the old days of the Camaro. But it's still modern when you look at stuff like, for example, it's got the little LED strips here in the door and customizable colors and things like that, which is kind of fun. Has obviously a modern display, and in fact, one of the best in the industry in terms of ease of use. So it has a lot of functionality, and anybody can hop in and learn how to use it, unlike some of the higher end cars where you kind of need your PhD to do it. And of course, it's even got like a wireless charging pad, things like that. So it does have some nice touches and definitely some nice amenities that for a Camaro you might not expect, but this car comes with it. So not only is it a race car, it's still not a bad car to drive in. Now, any good race car for the street though needs a good set of seats. And of course, as you can see, these Recaros are actually very nice. Quite comfortable. The bolstering on them is pretty good. I love the fact that they have this red stitching everywhere, which ties in even with the ZL1 logo and everything else, which is really cool. So I like that. Very subtle, but very classy. Even comes with heated and cooled seats, which again is nice for this class of car. And the one thing I really like about this interior a lot is the red seatbelt. It's really cool, adds that very sort of almost Porsche vibe to the interior, but let's face it, for a lot less money. Now, even though this interior is, you know, fairly nice, the most important part of any good Camaro is the engine. So let's pop the hood and let's take a peek at that. Really excited to see that one today. So obviously the most important thing in any muscle car is the engine. Under the hood sits the LT4. So that's a supercharged V8 that makes 650 horsepower and 650 pound-feet of torque. And in this particular car, it's mated to a 6-speed manual transmission. The 10-speed automatic is available in this car, which of course does make it a little bit faster. But let's face it, at the end of the day, when you have a muscle car like this that's just a snarling beast, you want the 6-speed manual. It adds so much to the driving experience. Now, while we're under the hood, the other interesting thing we should look at is this. If you look here at the strut towers, and you can see the little blue centerpiece there, that is actually the DSSV dampers. So essentially, GM has partnered up with Multimatic, a Canadian company that designs really high-end race suspensions for professional racing cars and even F1 teams. And this car has been fortunate enough to be equipped with a suspension setup from Multimatic. There is an awful lot to like about this car. First off, and the most important thing is that it's a race car for the road. It's not just some souped up sports car that the manufacturer wanted to make sportier and charge the customer a little bit more money. This car was actually engineered and designed to go on the racetrack, do so predictably, reliably, and outperform most other competitors at this price point and frankly a lot more higher price point. Because of all that, though, that's also what makes this car unique. Because if you think about it, it has a manual transmission. Like, where can you find that nowadays? That's actually quite rare and getting rarer by the minute. It also has a naturally aspirated, supercharged V8. You're not going to see too many of those around much longer with everything turning EV. And it's just the whole design ethos behind this car. It's meant to go fast, it's meant to be unapologetic, and it's in your face, and it's glorious because of it. Even, for example, the arrow we talked about with the front canards there on the nose, those stick out so far from the body. In Europe, they're actually deemed illegal. This car cannot be sold there because of that, because they deem it too dangerous to pedestrians. That alone makes this car so cool and so badass. So when you really think about it, this thing really is a special machine because this is the last of a really truly special breed. They're not going to make cars like this anymore, and that's really sad because at the end of the day, this really is a driving experience. This is what driving is about. Sure, you have your daily driver EV to get to work, and that's great, but when you want to have fun, it's cars like this you want, not Tesla Model 3s. So because of that, would I purchase this car if I had the funds available? Absolutely, I would in a heartbeat. If I was looking for a track-focused machine, this is the exact car I would buy. So with that being said, thanks so much for watching. And again, share your comments and your opinions on this car. Do you own one of these special machines? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Let us know. And as always, make sure you like and subscribe and check us out next week because we have some more very special hardware coming out of the Safe Auto Vault. Thanks, and we'll see you at the track.